It's that elusive question so many of us would love an answer to. How can we reverse the ageing process? Now, scientists from Harvard and the University of New South Wales believe they just might hold the key.
Now, they say that they've discovered genes which control how the body fights against ageing, and if you turn them the right way, they can even reverse the ageing process. David Sinclair is a professor of genetics at Harvard and the University of New South Wales. He's led this research. He's currently back in Australia, and last night he delivered this year's UNSW Medicine's Dean's Lecture. Now, he's also been good enough to join us in the studio tonight. Professor, thank you so much for joining us. It's really interesting to have a chat with you tonight. Let's just first start with this research. What genes are you targeting and how can you change the way that they act?
That's a very good question. These genes have a name called the sirtuins, and we have 7 of them in our bodies, and they defend us against aging. We can turn them on by exercising and dieting, and what we're working on is how can we make a pill to turn them on and get the benefits of those dieting and exercise without actually having to do those things.
Now, how are you going about doing this? You're testing on mice. Some of them you're prematurely ageing, and some you're able to reverse the ageing process.
Yeah, that's right, Nick. We work on mice mainly, but we're also moving into human clinical trials. What we found in the mice is that if we feed them the right molecules to turn on these special genes, the sirtuins, we are able to turn basically a 60-year-old into a 20-year-old equivalent in a mouse.
You've been asked the question today, I've noticed, are you playing God? Now tell us how you go about answering that question.
Well, I think I'm no different than most researchers and doctors who want to improve human health. It may just be that we have a really big impact. And so I look forward to a future where we can take a pill for diabetes, and that same pill would prevent cancer and heart disease and even other diseases such as, you could run further, you wouldn't be frail. So this is the future that's coming, and it's not that far away.
Why is it important to you to reverse ageing?
Well, it's not just important to me, but my passion is to make a big difference in the world. I see that we're getting many more elderly people in the world, and while we keep their hearts young, typically we have great drugs for the heart, the brain ages still. And so we're having more and more people who are living longer but in poor health.
Because so many people relate ageing to aesthetics. Reversing ageing appears to be, look, I can look 25 for the rest of your life, my life. Yeah. But you're really looking at it from a health perspective, as in your heart is still young, your brain can remain young, and you can stay, I guess, in tune with society. Is that where the motivation is?
Yeah, that's right. We also think that our medicines will help how we look, but most importantly, it's how we feel, and can we remain productive members of society. And I think that when that happens, and it's a when, not an if, we'll have 80, 90-year-olds who feel just as a 40-year-old would. And when that happens, we'll look back like we do 100 years ago.
So the big question is this going to happen in our lifetimes?
Well, I have to get back to work. But yeah, I think that it probably will. Nothing's for certain, but we're already doing human studies over in the US, and I'm actually here in Sydney to start a company that will work on this and hopefully accelerate the development so that we can see these within our lifetime.
Last year, you were named in Time magazine's top 100 people, most influential people in the world. You've mentioned already that you want to make an impact, make a difference. What is it that motivates you? What is it that's always motivated you to make a difference?
Well, I think a lot of people hope that when they die, they've made a difference in the world. My main motivation, though, what drives me is that my mother contracted lung cancer when I was in my early 20s, and I haven't stopped since then trying to make a medicine that would treat not just cancer, but a whole variety of other diseases as well. And
what impact, obviously, did that have on you, obviously, in terms of research, but what impact would that have more widely? One of the questions I really wanted to ask you was that is there part of human nature where generations, and you can see the age between generations as an important part of our biology. Now, if you had everyone, say you could save your mother, you could save everyone, and everyone's on a level playing field, how does that work in terms of how we socialise with each other and how we manage those intergenerational relationships?
Yeah. Well, society's going to change, economically, socially. Economically, I think we're going to save trillions of dollars in healthcare costs when people are productive for longer. Socially, I look forward to when we can have 6 generations of people and the great-great-grandparents are talking to the kids, the great-grandkids about what it was like 100 years ago when they were a kid, and pass on that wisdom and knowledge. I think that's going to be a much better world.
David, I read you've been taking the red wine molecule resveratrol for about a decade now. I think I've been doing the same directly out of a wine bottle, I think. But what is that? What are you trying to achieve with that?
Yeah. So we found 10 years ago that resveratrol from red wine can turn on these sirtuin genes. And when we fed it to mice, they were resistant to most of the effects of obesity and aging itself. And so I took the decision to try this myself. It's a long experiment, and I don't know the outcome yet. I do know what will happen if I don't do it. And actually, my mother, who recently passed away from lung cancer, was on resveratrol too, and she did remarkably well. Now, I don't advocate taking anything that's unproven, but my personal choice is to see where